Shall we start by asking a little bit about genetic mood? I'm sure most of workshop participants don't know much about genetic mood and what they do, what you guys are doing. So could you tell us a little bit about genetic mood?
Sure. Okay, so Genetic Moo is made up of two people. That's me, Nicola, and Tim. We've been working in interactive art since 2008 properly. Code underlies everything we do, and it drives videos and pixels to create creatures. We create interactive installations and invite people to come into the space to engage with the creatures, these lifelike forms. We use cheap technology. We work with webcams, Kinect sensors, netbooks, got a few Android things. And the idea is it allows us to build quite complex spaces, lots of technology that we can easily replace if something doesn't work. And our latest project, Micro World, allows us to extend the space so people can bring in their own interactive works or robots or even performance and interact with the space as well, and to create a digital ecosystem.
That's great. So you said that you formed this artistic group, genetic mood, together. How
Yeah.
did you guys meet together? And how do you work together? Do you have a different specializations? How I'm quite curious about that.
Okay, Tim, perhaps you could.
Initially, Genetic Moo was a bigger group. This is about 10, 15 years ago. There was about 10 people, and we were a filmmaking group. We'd share equipment, making video films. And then it kind of just developed over the years, and people went in different directions. And then the two of us ended up together. And I'm a programmer. My background's in maths and coding. And Nicola's background is in filmmaking. And she had a particular project where she wanted to create something that changed interactively space as opposed to a fixed film. So she asked me to help her with it. And that was the first project that we did. It's called The Starfish, a long time ago. Since then, we're also a couple. So we live together, we work together. And for the last few years, we've been working on this project full time. So all the time, we don't sell anything. So we get commissions to go to places, create works. And more, we're trying to work with people locally, wherever we go, to help them, to give them skills to create their own interactive artworks.
So the thing with coding is that, as you heard, Tim has been coding probably since you're about 12 years old. So I did filmmaking, and I worked in 16mm, and then obviously moved to digital, although I still have a 16mm camera. And as Tim said, I wanted to make work with film that had the audience involved in some way. So it was clear that I needed to bring some coding in. So I did an MA in electronic arts and learned basic coding. What this means is, in terms of how we work together, I have a basic understanding of what is possible in code. And over the years, I'm obviously developing a better understanding of how to work with it. So we develop projects together, but then each of us have specific skills. So mine will be in the photography and the video that goes into our work. But we can still share
visuals as well. Nicola does a lot of the visuals. I mean, you're just looking at pixels now, so there's no kind of graphic element to this. What we're doing with Sonada, but in other times there are kind of lots of graphical elements. So for this workshop, we're keeping it very, very simple, low level, because to teach people how to do it.
Yeah, speaking of the workshops, the title for your workshop is Slow Life.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about your workshop, and what are the main ideas when you develop this workshop?
Okay, well, I'm going to start off just saying that Tim and I have a common interest in science, and specifically, marine biology is of great interest to us. And yeah. That's right. Yeah. So because we have this interest in life, in nature, and we're obviously trying to simulate life in our artworks as well. So this is a common interest we have. And then when we first got your invitation to participate in you, and you told us about the themes, we thought a lot about the various types of nature we've looked at that actually live in a very, if you like, slow way. And when you're thinking about deep time rather than the short time that we have on this earth. So again, perhaps Tim, you could expand on that then and make links with what our workshop is.
Yeah, so one thing we immediately thought of was coral. So the way that coral grows is living, both living and dead at the same time. So there are parts of coral which are alive, and they gather chemicals from the water around them, and they build up these shapes bit by bit, piece by piece, over hundreds of years. And after that very long time, you get these kind of really curly and intricate coral shapes developing. And we had a few years back, we did a piece based on that, which would sit in a gallery space over the course of the whole day, and by the end of the day, it would fill up the screen. So slowly, a pixel at a time, building up shapes. And the colors of the corals were based on the colors in the room, because there are other pieces of art in the room changing color as well. So we thought, oh, we'll start with the coral, because that's a good, and it's to create these corals digitally is actually quite a simple algorithm. So that's the type of algorithm that you can teach people to program for themselves, even if they've never done any programming before. So we thought we'll start with that, because it's a very slow process that builds up a pixel at a time. And then we're going to expand from that and create a few other things you can do with pixels. So what you see behind us on the wall is the Game of Life, which is a very famous cellular automaton. So we'll probably introduce that as well, because in some configurations, there are very lifelike things come out of the Game of Life. Things spread and grow in kind of very natural ways, like lichen or fungus sort of thing. So we're going to teach people some very simple ways to build up organic shapes using pixels. And then if we're lucky, they'll be able to think of their own ideas and create their own variations of those shapes, and using different colors and shapes make something interesting. And if we're super lucky and they're good enough at coding, we might have time to teach them to some sound as well, because obviously you can attach sound to visuals if you want. So
yeah, that's very fascinating. It seems it looks like the most of participants are their background is visual art as well as and music.
Right.
And not many people have had this coding experience. And then over the recent years, and this term creative coding has taken in quite a wide range of this artistic practice. And there are a lot of people talking about creative coding in one way or another. So could you tell us from your perspective, what is creative coding, and why do you think artists should know how to code?
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, so as I said earlier, I'm the basic coder in this collective, and so originally working in film in the 80s, there was this whole thing about the active audience and how you got the audience involved. So as a filmmaker, creating open artworks where the audience has some role within it was beginning to have a significance in the 80s, and has simply continued to have significance. And in fact, this giving the audience participatory rights is part of gaming, and so much in our world now is about involving people. So I think a lot of artists are genuinely interested in how people can have more agency within their experience of art. But I think one of the things that's quite important to us is that it's not this sort of plug-in or plug-on sort of feature, that our creative coding workshops introduce the fundamentals. We use processing, so it's open source, so nobody has to pay for anything. And it's not like Scratch or something like that, where you just have, it's not modular, where you just drag something in and suddenly it works. The idea is that it gives people a very solid grounding and introduction in how coding works and what it can do, and hopefully gives people the confidence to continue working with it.
I think we're not going to be teaching people how to be, fully capable coders. What we're doing is we're showing hopefully we show how easy it is to get started with code. So at a basic level, it is really pretty easy, and everybody should be doing it. All artists should have a go at it. I'm not saying all artists should use it, but just to have a go at it, just as all artists should have a go at drawing, or take photography, or do all these different skills. So it's a set of skills that to do on a simple level is very easy to do. If you want to take it, much more complicated, then that's up to you, and you have to spend years and years to get good at this stuff. And but to start off with, it can be very easy. So I think the openness of the digital art world is something that really excites us. We want to get as many people involved as possible, and we want to show their pieces of art in our group shows and make everything much more excited and interconnected. So yeah, so we're really excited by it. Not just for students. We do workshops with 6-year-olds or anyone, as long as they can type on a computer and will sit still for an hour, then we can teach them something, and they can create wriggling bugs or all sorts of different things. So yeah, we're really. It just seems to be a natural part of our digital art practice is to include workshops to get as many people involved as possible. We're interactive artists, and we want to engage in as many different ways as possible with the audience, and that includes workshops, demos, talks.
So yeah, it's meaningful. It's not just stuck on. So as a part of our slow cooker workshop, we will have these coding sessions, but that will culminate in people being able to then collectively show their creations within a sort of genetic move.
On the second day, yeah. So on the second day, part of the workshop will be everybody, and we've never done this with as many projectors as once, so we'll try and work out how to do it. Everyone will project their work onto a shared space, and then we'll put some kind of framing, something that we've done on top of it. So it's multiple projections. So we've done projections 2 or 3 on top of each other, but we've never done anything with like 10 or however many people turn up to the workshop. So it should be really interesting for us as well to see what happens, see what comes out of it. So yeah, it's experimental for us as well.
Okay, great. That's fascinating. So I think we have touched upon this specific question, but what do you hope that workshop participants to achieve at the end of your workshop? What do they expect to get?
Okay, so certainly an introduction to processing if they haven't actually seen that before, and as well as the chance to work on their own, making decisions about how they can create a piece of generative art, to actually work as part of a group as well. So during the sessions, we'll think about how pieces might be put together. So there'll be some team working in there, and hopefully. You've said some people will have a visual arts background and some will have a sound background. So hopefully in some meaningful way, it will enhance what they do. If they're filmmakers, I can easily see how it might impact on them because I know how it does on me. But I think also for sound artists working in code, to have that combination of visuals then coming into their sound work could be quite interesting. What about you? What do you think?
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what kind of languages the sound artists are using to create their works. If they're using modular languages like Max and so forth, pure data, then processing the language we're going to teach them is not like that. It's not where you attach things together in a modular way. It's a procedural language. So you go line by line, and then it goes back to the top and down. So that thought process of a kind of a loop that's fixed and does things might be interesting for them to compare to the other ways that they work with different types of computer languages. So,
okay, great. So the final question is that your workshop will be, I guess, 3 weeks from now. So until then, how and what the workshop participants should be prepared for your workshop? We told them, in our website that they have to perhaps bring their own laptop and then download the processing, and so I think they will do that. But other than that, is there anything else that they can prepare for themselves for the workshop?
I mean, processing is open source, so not only is it free, but and thousands of people use it around the world, but there are thousands or hundreds of example programs on the website and tutorials about how to use it and videos about how to code. So if they want to get a head start, then they can start learning processing immediately. It's all very clearly laid out, and it's a language designed for artists to use. So it's a lot of things are made simple for you. So that's something they can look at. In terms of, well, I don't know, in terms of our particular project, they could go and look at weird, simple life forms that they might want to simulate somehow, and bring some of those in, and we can try and help them make things wriggle across the screen
and things. So specific forms in nature. So we've mentioned coral and lichen, but also
worms, ants,
slime
termites, slime molds, basic kind of creatures.
Superorganisms. So where you've actually got this build-up of many entities. So as you can see, we've got this game of life going on behind us. So if you were to consider each pixel as being a creature, on its own, then working within this mass and the shapes it forms, etc. But are there any websites, Tim, that you'd recommend in terms of generative artwork?
Yeah, I think more or less people just get sort of a rough notion of processing and what programming is. I think that's all. We'll be taking them through it step by step. So, yeah, I think there's nothing much they have to do. And even if they haven't got a laptop, they can come in. We'll have a couple of spare netbooks with us or something. So
I see. Yes,
that's fine. And if they can't get processing installed, then we'll try and help them get it installed. It should be pretty straightforward, and there's instructions on the website.
So okay, thank you for your time, and we are looking very much forward to having you in Aberdeen in 3 weeks' time.
Super. Okay, that's
Thank you very
brilliant.
much.